about the marquee names too. I mean, let's face it. When we were watching the Tigers in 2012, I mean, you had Miguel Cabrera in his prime, you had Max Scherzer in his prime, you had Justin Verlander in his prime. We can keep going on and on. Look at this roster. I mean, what are you really excited about? I mean, if we hope Riley Green is a star, but he's not a star right now. Spencer Torkelson's even farther from being a star. They need those two guys to become stars and to lead the next generation of this team. And then people will get a little bit excited. And then this offseason, they did next to nothing to improve the major league roster. You can say they made a depth trade with Philadelphia. That's fine. Nice players. But that doesn't really move the needle in terms of fan interest. Last year, they came off of a good season. They struck in free agency. They built up some equity with fans in terms of hope, and things went wrong. And that's baseball. That happens. I don't blame them for. I mean, you couldn't control everything that went wrong last year, to some degree. But this year they did nothing, so the optimism should be fairly low. It's a 66-win team that didn't do much.
To me, the big thing is that fans, for the most part, kind of patiently sat through a rebuild and accepted it. Accepted that was the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
That this is what the plan. The Tigers had to do this. And certainly there were fans who didn't think that was true and wanted to keep competing and didn't think it was going well. But a lot of people said, okay, we understand. You got to get the money off the books. You got to get these young studs in here. And sure enough, the Tigers had 5 top 25 prospects, and they were coming off an unexpectedly good year. And all these young guys, are kind of come up. And then to have the rug completely pulled out from under you, have your number one pick Mize get hurt, have your number one pick Spencer Torkelson come up and look pretty awful, have Riley Green come up and be okay, but nothing spectacular, and then to have everything else possibly go wrong. And so now fans are looking at the reality is suddenly it's another rebuild. They sat through that whole thing, and they're out the other side looking just as bad as when they went in, if not worse. And it's just really hard to drum up any kind of optimism when you're like, oh my God, we just sat through 5 years of nothing, 6 years, however many years you want to call it, and we're no better than we were before. So it's hard. Like for me, I just try to find the optimism in the new front office, in the new way of going about things. And fortunately, Roger and I pay so much attention to the minors that we saw some of the good things down there, and you can kind of hide the pain by focusing on some interesting bats in high A, and they look at these pitchers. But I'm sure the average fan doesn't want to hear anything about that because they were promised these prospects who came up and didn't do anything. So yeah, it's hard to find optimism here. And to your point, yeah, they didn't do much at all in the offseason to improve. So I don't blame anybody for being bummed out. I do think that bad baseball is still better than no baseball, and hopefully people will watch some games and have some fun, or go to the park and just hang out because it's the greatest spectator sport on earth, in my opinion.